Hi there, I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is the Reading Habits tag. I have a bunch of tags that I need to get caught up in. I was tagged in a few things at the end of the year and I haven't done those yet. So to get myself in the mood for that, I thought I'd start with a really easy tag that I wasn't actually tagged in, but I did spend a day marathoning a bunch of videos for this. I don't even remember which was the first one that I watched, but I'll link the original down below. Question number 1. Do you have a certain place at home for reading? The answer is not really, because I do most of my reading either at the gym or on transit or in waiting rooms. When I do read at home, it's usually actually in this room. This is a guest room in my house, and I have a yoga mat just behind where the camera is, and my stack of unread comics and graphic novels are over there. So sometimes I'll be lying on that, see something I want to start reading, and read it there. But otherwise I don't really. Question number 2, bookmark or a random piece of paper? To be honest, it's usually neither. I usually fold over the pages. I know some people hate seeing dog-eared pages, but whatever. I don't do that with library books, but with my own. I actually used to have a collection of bookmarks, and I just got out of the habit of using them. When I do use a bookmark, I'm usually using a ticket or a receipt, more so than an actual bookmark, though. I think of that old bookmark collection, I have maybe 1 or 2 that I still know where they are. I think the other ones might be in storage. Although I do get bookmarks through Book Outlet and Book Depository, so I do use those if I happen to be reading something just as I opened it. Number 3, can you stop reading anywhere, or do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain number of pages? Because so much of my reading has happened in waiting rooms and on transit, I stop anywhere, because otherwise you miss your stop. I've been lucky enough in that I've had quite a few commutes where my stop was the last stop, or it was a major one so other people were getting off, because there have been points where I would have written on past, and I know, especially when I was in university, I sometimes read past my stop on the bus because it wasn't the last stop. But yeah, in general, anywhere, because you don't want to ride past your final stop. Question number 4, do you eat or drink while reading? Not generally. As I said, because I mostly read at the gym and on trains, yeah, I don't. I guess the one exception is when I'm having my car serviced, they have a free coffee, so I drink coffee when I'm reading in the waiting room at the car place. Number 5, multitasking, music or TV while reading. Well, there's always music and TVs on at the gym, so yes. At home, not usually, although I will sometimes read in the same room while my husband is watching sports or something. Although not if Liverpool's playing, because then he shouts at the TV and that would be too distracting to read through, but otherwise. Question number 6, one book at a time or several at once? Generally one book at a time, the exceptions being audiobooks, because I don't listen to those straight through. They'll be like, I listen to those for the hour when I'm walking the dog in the morning, and so I'll have something else that I'm actually reading going at the same time. The other exception would be sometimes you get coffee table books or non-narrative nonfiction that I think you're just meant to pop in and out of, so that I'll might flip through. Question number 7, reading at home or everywhere? As I said, pretty much everywhere. More everywhere than at home. Question number 8, reading out loud or silently in your head? Usually silently, the exceptions being poetry. Occasionally, if I'm reading a play and there's something with a long monologue and you really feel like you need to hear it out loud. The other, actually, no, there is a third exception. If I'm trying to read something that is in German or Dutch, I will often read the first few pages or even the first few chapters out loud, because I'm just not in practice. At least for me, when I'm out of practice in a language, I'm not as used to recognizing the shape of the words, and so I find it helpful to read it out loud to remind myself of how the language is supposed to sound. But that does mean 99% of the time it's in my head, because I don't read that much poetry, and it has been a couple of years since I've read something that wasn't in English or French. So. Question number 9, do you read ahead or even skip pages? I'm going to assume that means fiction, because in nonfiction, if you're reading something non-narrative, you look at the index and you look for the information you're looking for. So obviously I skip ahead in that kind of book all the time. In fiction, the only time I skip ahead is there are some series, for example, long fantasy series that have point of view chapters, and especially if they've been ongoing for years. If I've read the first one, 20 years ago, and I maybe don't actually care about the story anymore, but I'm semi-interested in certain characters, there are books like that that I will go in and read the characters that I care about, and if I'm still enjoying the writing, I might go back and read the rest of it. But honestly, sometimes I'll just read that because I'm not super, at that point I might not be invested in it anymore. Question 11, do you write in your books? Not generally. I'm not a big note taker. I dog-ear pages if I want to remember something, and then if I go back I can't find the line, so so it's not maybe the best way of doing it, but I don't generally write in books. There are a couple of exceptions, and again, the exception is if I'm reading in a language that I am not super fluent in. I will sometimes write translations in the margins in case I have to go back, because again, when you're less fluent in a language, or at least when I am, I'm more likely to go back and reread, so I like having the reminder there. But yeah, otherwise, no. I think that's the last question. Is it? Is it? Yes, it is. Yeah, so question 11 was the last question. And then the next thing to do is to tag some people. So this tag's been around for a while, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tag the last 5 people who commented on my last video. So I'm going to link their channels below, and there we go. Yeah, no pressure, and if you've done it before, hey, do it again. No, not really. I don't think this is what you want to do multiple times, but next time, maybe next week, I'm going to get to some of those tags that I was actually tagged in. Looking forward to doing the Muppet one. That's going to be fun. Alright, that's it for now. Ciao!